African American community wasn't always in Rondo. We were scattered on the east side. We were scattered on the west side. When our churches came through, then the African American community congregated and Rondo was born. When the 8 churches moved over here, they brought all of their congregation with them. And that's why Rondo actually began. Churches is where you ate, you picked up clothing, everyone gathered. The churches are just an important part of the community. Decision was made to route I-94 through the heart of our community. It really bisected the community and it separated people, and a lot of people just decided they had had enough. And so there was a mass exodus.
There are parts of our system that got built all at once. And so you have a whole chunk of the infrastructure that was largely built at the same time. And so you have a corridor where a lot of it needs some attention. Do we need to make it bigger, or do we need to make it serve a more livable function? And that's really the nexus of those two things are what brings us to where we are today with having this conversation about bridges as metaphor and designing for equity.
You know, over 50 years ago, the Highway Department, in conjunction with federal government, really built a swath through a thriving neighborhood and built a trench that bifurcated the lifeblood from the community in a way that we would never do today. In fact, today, we have an opportunity, because of aging pavements and bridges, to restore them not as they are today, but in a reimagined way, maybe offer ways to reconnect the neighborhood in a way that is far more healing and is an approach that is going to really make a lot more sense for generations.
There are 8 bridges in the Rondo corridor, from Rice Street or Marion going west to Lexington. And we looked at those 8 bridges not just as a bridge that would connect north to south, but could we develop and maybe come up with a common vision so that those 8 bridges might be seen as a unit?
By partnering with the Rondo community, we know that these are more than just crossings for cars. These are crossings for people, they're connections with the neighborhood, and this goes beyond the scope of engineers. It really is too important. We need leaders and Minnesotans and Rondo residents to be very involved in helping us think about ways that would have meaning for the neighborhoods.
It's not just about the bridges, but it's about everything happening around the bridges, and both the divisions that were created by the freeway coming in that the bridges try to nominally address through physical connection, but now looking at the need for cultural, social, and economic connections that need to be made, and the fact that you can have all of these different groups at the table thinking about the same thing, coming from their various perspectives. That's more than a lot of projects start with. And so I'm also really excited about the potential that is here.
So how can we take the cultural value and the history of Rondo, make them a part of these bridges, and then invite and welcome the ideas and the sensibilities of our new neighbors who are now living in the Rondo community, so that this bridge becomes more than just a passageway.
What is really encouraging is that at a national level you see folks like Secretary Fox in the press actually pushing the agenda and saying this is about placemaking, this is about making our cities better than they have been in the past, and having the DOT be part of that conversation and be part of imagining something different. And so it's a very encouraging period of time, and I think we have a window of opportunity to make some great things happen.
How can the community groups and the governmental agencies work together in an innovative way to provide a guide, to provide an example, to provide a framework or an inspiration how culture and tradition and history can reach out and connect with new individuals in the community so that the cultural values of the community are transmitted to a new generation
For me, the outcome is not necessarily, okay, we've put a new bridge in place that happens to have all of these features. To me, the outcome is more about what is the experience we want somebody to have in this place? How do we want to improve their quality of life? And when we understand, like, that is the thing that's going to rally people together and rally the communities together.
And think about the entire system. Think about who it affects. Think about what meaning it would have over the next few generations. And what a lovely opportunity for us to take the time, understand the stories, understand the community interests, and think and reimagine how we might make these connections, this use, in a different way.
Let's exchange our history and our values so that this bridge reflects that connection. So it becomes more than a bridge, it's a way to celebrate the connections between our two communities, and each of the bridges in Rondo can be a welcoming path for the Somali community, the Hmong community, the Latino community, to the community at Frogtown. We can use the idea of Rondo to welcome them to this whole new community, and this is it. This is the place where it all begins.